All right. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good, good. Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of Military Retirement Blueprint. This is the show where we're talking mostly to career military families and officers and NCOs who are retiring and getting out of the military. And here comes Tom. We got a guest today and talk about all things military retirement. And so
Mr. Tom Welsh, all the way from Ireland.
Look at that. So got a special guest today. Mike and I have been off the last couple of weeks, a lot of travel, but we can get into that towards the end. But we wanted to pick Tom's brain. He was kind enough to join us while he's in Ireland. But like any time traveling, we realized there might be technical difficulties. So are you hearing us all right, Tom?
Yeah. I'm actually in Derry right now. We came for a tour of the bog side. Wasn't that great. It was more of a standing tour. But for those of you that are Derry Girl fans, I'm in front of the mural of the Derry Girl. So,
oh,
nice, nice,
cool. How long are you over there?
So, we're about 9 days. We flew in last Saturday morning. We're going to take in the Steelers-Vikings game and then fly home Monday. Of course, my daughter is married and lives over here with an Irishman, so we get to spend some time with her. My brother flew over, so we're having a great time.
No, good to visit family, and appreciate you making time to jump on with us. Mike had the idea of he gets a lot of questions around the ethics of career hunting and making sure you don't step on any toes, and knowing there was some recent news of an admiral and got in a little trouble. I think the obvious answer there is don't take. But I'm going to let Mike kind of lead it because he gets most of these questions. But we'll grab 15, 20 minutes of your time, Tom, and let you get back to all the cool stuff in Ireland.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, you guys
Scott.
are between me and a pint, so let's do this.
We don't want to keep you. We don't want to keep you from a pint, Tom. So we'll make it quick.
I just got coffee.
So I'm loaded up with my coffee as well here. So although it could be Guinness, right? You never know. So Tom.
Yeah, make it an Irish coffee.
Yeah. Just like Scott alluded, right? We have been getting a lot of questions of late, right? And I thought you being, your background in the JAG Corps would be perfect, to address some of these things. And then very coincidentally, right, the results from Admiral Burke came out the other day, and ethics in transition, and a lot of this is coming up. So the Blue Water member like I do, right? They're those senior 0506s typically stepping in to transition, and some of the questions we get are centered around simple things like, hey, can I start work while I'm, still active duty, right? I'm still officially attached to the Navy, but I'm on terminal leave and lead turning this. Can I legally do that? Right? And so that's one question that we get. And then the other question is, like with a lot of our NAVAIR experienced, officers running programs where they've had direct contact with a lot of companies, right? Can I go to work for a company that I was managing and overseeing, while I was active duty, right? And so we get into a lot of those discussions, and we just wanted to kick that off here this morning. So let me stop talking. That's kind of the gist of it. And then certainly if anything else comes to mind on things that our members need to be cautious of as they step into their transition from a legal perspective, we'd be interested in hearing your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So first answer, yes, you can start working while you're on terminal leave, but you are still a government employee. So since you're still a government employee, and I know I'm using that different than the service member, but the statute, it's a criminal statute for a person, no matter what their rank is, to go work for a company where you're now representing back to the government. And representing back is nothing more than interacting with the government. Had this issue a few years ago where an admiral was asked to stand in on an exercise. He was very, very cognizant of the rules. And then he called me saying, hey, I'm going to be on the exercise floor. And it's like, well, you're representing the company, Admiral. You can't do that. So, first rule, yes, you can work on terminal leave, but you're still a government employee. So you cannot represent back to the government. That's the first rule. The second question is, hey, can I go back? Now, there's a different rule for flag officers because flag officers have a cooling off period for 1 year where they can't represent back even after they retire. It's again, it's a criminal statute that prohibits them from representing back to their agency. So like a general couldn't go back to the Army, a Navy admiral couldn't go back to the Navy, but he could go to the Army because that's a separate component for the purposes of this law. And then, of course, we're not even going to touch going to work for DOD because there you have a 6-month cooling off period unless you get a waiver, which I think most of our folks are familiar with. If they're going to go get a job with the federal or the DOD, they got to get that waiver. So the answer is yes, but it's that interaction that is often trips people up. We see it all the time over at the Department of Commerce where people are leaving and they're asking, hey, can I go accept this job? And the answer is, well, it depends. We have to look at it. So that's the first rule on terminal leave. And then, as far as other than the flag officers, which I've already talked about, and I've touched on them briefly, then, you can, the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness, it's in our Constitution. You can go do that. The laws don't forbid you from working anywhere. It's just some restrictions on how or what you can do to interact with the government. So, for example, let's say that you're involved on a source selection committee, or maybe we're a contracting officer on Project X, and now you're retiring, and the company that either was involved with that contract or competed for that contract wants to bring you on. That you may have, depending on what your role was, you may have a restriction which either prohibits you from representing back on the government for the life of that matter, not your life, but the life of that matter, and I'll explain that in a minute, or if you were a supervisor and someone your underlings touched it, then for 2 years. So a lifetime ban. It's, I'm not going to be able to capture it in this podcast, but let's say you have a contract for cloud services for the classified network at DOD. And you worked on that. You participated substantially and personally in making decisions and recommendations on that program. And now you go to retire. Well, you can't represent on that matter. Well, let's say 5 years from now, a superseding contract goes up for bid. Maybe maybe the company that had it before gets it, maybe somebody else. That would probably be viewed as a different matter, at which point you could probably come back in. But then, who knows? They might not want you at that point because your currency is not that great. So those are just some of the rules that touch upon, finding work in the post-military sphere. But maybe there's more that you had in mind that I'm not hitting on that you wanted to talk.
Well, that's great insight, and that's worth its weight in gold. I just love the discussion because, again, it sheds light on some of these potential areas that, let's be honest, I mean, we can have great intentions, but, inadvertently stub your toe if you're not careful, right? Tom, refresh me. What's the form? What's the letter? Like, back in our relationship, if I was leaving Airland and you were the judge advocate on staff and I was pursuing a company for employment during my terminal leave, what's the letter that I can go back to the judge advocate that a company may ask me for? And I forget that form. It's Does that ring a bell?
Right. It's a Yeah, I do them all the time. It's a PGE, Post Government Employment Letter. You go to pretty much any JAG that's a JAG to a General Court Martial Convening Authority, therefore a general officer or a flag officer, but I'll stick with the Navy flag officers. You can give them, there's a DD form that I don't have on the top of my head. You can describe what you've done the last 5 years, the jobs that you've had, and they can give you a tailored letter. Now, we get asked for these all the time, even in the Department of Commerce, and
Right.
It's kind of funny because the company is not entitled to our services, but the employee or the former employee is, and so we're doing that to take care of them. But as you know, oftentimes when they get an offer or interest, it is, hey, bring me your post-government employment letter. And when guys go for that, or guys and gals, first, don't expect to get a letter that's just going to cover every possible job
Right.
that you're applying for. It's
Right.
got to be tailored. We got to know what you're going to do, an outline or an idea of your responsibilities, and what your title is going to be. And so if we were to do that for everyone that was going out and just looking for work, that's all we would be doing. And so I tell them it's kind of like, dating, maybe you go on the app and no one's interested in you. And then you start getting some interest and they say, hey, let's go out for lunch. And they start talking about, we're thinking about this or that. At that point, you probably could start going down that road to get that letter. And what that does is, if it's good faith, the biggest joke is an admiral will tell you how important he is while he's on active duty, but when he's going to find employment, he was really just a figurehead and didn't have any decision-making authority whatsoever. But if you provide accurate information, it's good faith, and you go out and apply for a job, and if some issue pops up, you say, hey, here's the PGE letter I got. As long as you didn't disclose, as long as you didn't withhold anything, that's going to give you safe haven. And quite frankly, DOJ's going for bigger fish to fry. So just be good faith, be open, and provide all the info, and you'll get that letter, give it to the company, and that'll be out of the way.
Yeah, so a quick follow-on question in that regard, Tom. How much of the onus, how much of the responsibility lies on the company, right, for doing their due diligence as well? It sounds like a member assumes some responsibility to openly disclose that, but is there any responsibility on the employer side to do their due diligence as well?
That's a good point, Mike. And I always say that too. Like, I'll get these things out of nowhere saying, hey, I need you to come up with this letter pretty quickly. And it's like, well, wait a minute. The company can do its due diligence and get that and make their own analysis, because my analysis is not binding on them. But again, they want you to do the work, come to us, because in that way they have someone on the inside saying, oh, no, you're good.
No, I agree with that. Sounds like, everybody just needs to come to the table in good faith and disclose what they know. And companies should be a part of that too, doing their due diligence as well. Hey, quick segue. And again, I just want to highlight it. And I think you called it out pretty effectively, but in the example where you said, hey, I'm going to work for a company and maybe the role and responsibility has me engaged in some activity that maybe I oversaw while I was in uniform, right? The company can still hire me, I believe, but as long as I'm not doing that type of work. If they have me doing other type of work, I'm not banned from working at the company. I'm banned really from working at the company supporting that type of work. Is that correct?
That's correct. So a couple things on that. As long as you're not working on that matter, that particular matter you oversaw, and two, so you could be working on other issues. Let's say that you worked on a joint strike fighter program, and and I'm sorry, I'm losing the names of the contractors, but they hire you, but they want you to go work over on this drone program. Well, you didn't oversee the drone program. You had no involvement with that. They want you, for whatever your expertise, that you could get hired and provide that support, because that's a different matter. The other thing I need to tell you, and people need to think about, is a company can always hire you and have you do behind the scenes work, which means doing everything but reaching out to that former government agency or service on that matter that you handle while you're there. So it could be, let's say a lot of people get hired for governmental relations, that they're not overseeing necessarily a particular program, but they interact with, they know how the Navy works, and they want them to interact with their governmental affairs programs.
Yeah, we see that. That's a very common occurrence with our senior members, some 06s, and certainly some flag officers that are out there as well too. Companies will bring them into overhead and separate them, right? Make sure that, they are not involved in any of those conflict of issues, that would shed bad light on that relationship, right? So, no, I agree, and thanks for clarifying that. No, we really this. We get a lot of these questions from members as they're just navigating this space, and all our members have great integrity, right? Their ethical approach, but sometimes there's honest questions out there. Hey, can I do this? I'm not really sure, right? And
I do have one question. What about, I hear this a lot, still on active duty, want to start a side gig. And, there's everything from podcasting to real estate, but the more specific one is somebody saying they've been asked to consult for a specific company, maybe in the DoD space, maybe just in the corporate world. But that seems a little bit interesting, because they're kind of working as a 1099, and sure, they got to be clear on, making sure it's not a particular project, but what are we allowed to do while still on active duty, using that as an opportunity to explore new opportunities in post-military life, but also collecting a paycheck?
Yeah, so on the whole consulting, so the law actually allows you to represent yourself back. So you can represent yourself to the government, like if you have a matter with your taxes or whatnot, but you can't represent your LLC, because your LLC has a different identity than your personal. So it gets kind of tricky. Nothing stops you from doing that. You just, again, you can't be interacting with the government on, your former agency on that matter, or while you're still on active duty.
Interesting. So side hustles, if an individual wanted to get out and sell real estate, if they wanted to get out and
no problem,
start a car detailing business, or we've had members want to get out and open up, no kidding, car repair shops, other franchises. They're just doing this on their behalf. There's nothing that precludes them from doing that. I would imagine, we would advise the member to disclose this to his command that he's doing these things, right? I mean,
well, things like that where you're not interacting with the government, you can do whatever you want. That's the life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. So you could go to work as a real estate agent. You could go to work as a consultant. Just, again, the law doesn't prevent you from taking jobs. It just may limit what you can do to interact with the government. So if you're doing something like that, it is completely not related to your former job or your service, there's no issues whatsoever. You can do that. You're on terminal leave. You're on terminal leave. Of course, the Navy or the Army could call you back, but realistically, it's not going to happen. So you can go do that. And sorry about all the multitasking here, guys, but
we love it. We love it, man. You're on the move. You're on vacation, for God's sakes. Enjoy.
Well, the Burke example, this is a guy, in my humble opinion, there's a couple options. Either one, he knew the rules and chose to ignore them. Two, he was not smart enough and he didn't go to his JAG. Or three, he did go to his JAG and his JAG got it completely wrong. Now, the brief articles that I saw on that, there's nothing that said, hey, my JAG told me I could do this, which leads me to believe the fact that he got convicted and is going to go do some time, it looks like it was either the first or the second. And the takeaway from all that is you have a criminal liability on this, and you have to do the disclosing. If you withhold something or you can't show where you got that post-government letter, hey, maybe you're going to be wearing pinstripes. And I don't say that lightly, but that just kind of drives home that it's your personal responsibility. It's not the JAG's necessarily.
Right. No, and again, this conversation purely coincidental with the articles that were posted, over the last couple of days in that particular case. But it goes a long way for some of our senior members to be cognizant of it, right? Like in some situations, wow, if you don't know, I think the safe answer is to always ask, to always seek out, the experts in this case, and just ask the question, what's a safe path for me to navigate here, right?
Yes. And Mike, as you know, you put me in contact from somebody in a cohort not too long ago.
Yep.
We linked up on the phone. I gave him a answer. And
Oh, we lost him. But no, that was great.
Yeah, well, let's give him a minute here. Maybe he'll come
Did I
back.
lose you guys?
Yeah,
You're back
now, Tom.
Yeah,
Go
hey,
ahead.
I'm getting calls. My wife wants to make sure that I got to the right pub. So as you can see in the background.
Well, we've got you audio. There you go. Hey, look at that.
So
Look
I've got to meet them up for lunch here.
Well,
awesome,
we don't
man.
want to keep you from that, Tom. We appreciate the discussion, man.
You good?
Yeah, that's fantastic. And we appreciate you being a resource. Can
you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We got you.
Yeah, so if you don't mind, I'm going to jump off here. I got to go join the spousal unit for some chow and pints and my brother.
All right, man.
All right, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, we'll talk to you guys later.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
Oh, I want to hear some Irish accents.
Tom's in the pub, right? Holy cow. Wow, what a special guest, Scott.
Yeah, that was fun. Wow, he dropped a lot of info quickly. That's what lawyers do, right? They could just rattle off stuff and I didn't even get a chance to ask him about his podcast. He is the host of the After the JAG podcast.
Yep.
I think it's geared towards JAGs, looking for military career. And the cool thing is Tom started that podcast while he was still on active duty as a way to explore options, outside the military for himself. And it ended up becoming a great resource. And I'm sure there's some episodes in there where he talks about these types of things. So go check out his podcast as well. And continue to share that as a resource.
And in fact, if you're on Blue Water's website, under our member resources, or on Blue Water Digital, right, under our Stay Informed section, we link to that podcast and provide some insight to Tom's background. He's a Blue Water member himself. He was nearly a plank owner, right, way back in 2021 as he stepped in and joined us, and just pursued the very niche swim lane with JAGs. But having been a guest on Tom's show on his podcast and seen a number of episodes, there are gems in there for everybody in their own career progression, right? There's a lot of stuff that JAGs have to consider. Guess what? That every senior officer has to consider. It's just a good roll up of issues on how to navigate the space. So
sure. And I'm on an episode as well, talking about survivor benefit plan and stuff. And
yeah, it's fantastic. He does good work. So that was a good idea, Scott, to pull Tom in and have those discussions. I guess as just kind of a quick wrap up, like for members that are listening in, and please, if you're listening in, if you got any questions, throw them out. We're happy to field them. But what I would say, if there's a question, if there's a doubt, there should be no doubt. Find the right person, ask the question. We have sent a number of Blue Water members. We have JAGs now in the Blue Water ecosystem, right? We have several. I want to say probably at last count, we've probably got 10 or 15 JAGs that have been through. Tom is one. Latham Hudson is another one who just joined us from the Naval Academy, who you met, right? You remember her a couple of weeks ago. They have this legal expertise. And if you've got questions, reach out to them. They're in the Blue Water ecosystem. And just like Tom referenced, he's more than happy to have the conversation to give you a little bit of rudder on, hey, you might want to think about these things or go see this point of contact, right? And he mentioned that post-government employment letter, PGE letter. That's certainly something, to be aware, but, also, making a good faith effort to disclose this stuff. But then the employer, right? The employer, the company you're pursuing, in good faith should also be aware of these things too, right? They need to be a part of this, right? As you disclose this stuff, and they can help in going, yeah, there's no conflict of interest, or there may be, or certainly we're going to employ you, but we're going to keep you insulated from this type of work, and you're only going to do this type of work, right? And
right.
if he is willing to do that, you could probably navigate that space, but you would definitely want to disclose everything in advance.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that I got more of a warm and fuzzy on, because I've known this is okay, because I know people that have done it, but you don't have to wait for terminal leave. You don't have to hope you get a DoD skill bridge.
Yeah.
Obviously you got to make it fit your schedule.
Yep.
But, and it doesn't have to be a side gig. You don't have to go be a realtor or start your own consulting practice. There's plenty of small businesses out there, small to medium, might even be a startup style thing where, might have to work for free, but you can go get experience. And, whether or not you have to disclose it to your command, you're doing this on the side. I mean, it's your free time. You're doing your own thing. As long as you're, not having those conflicts of interest, like those are still opportunities to go get experience, see what a work environment might be like.
Sure.
I know a lot of people that have been stationed out in California where the startup world is, and they'll just kind of, join a startup and, be spending time helping them out. Well, and a lot, it might be in the, high tech, it might be in a defense drone type space. And then that leads to potential future employment, or at least you start knowing, how that world works.
Yeah. You brought up an interesting point. You're going, an institutionalized approach to this, right? I mean, DOD embraces skill bridge, right? Mm-hmm. And we have members that are out active duty still, right? In some cases, 6 months prior to your EOS, right? You're going to work for a company under a program skill bridge. But if you look at the fine point in skill bridge, right, there are some limiting guardrails, like obviously compensation, right? That's you're not allowed to draw compensation. Right. Speak on behalf of the government, right? You're there kind of as a learn and observe kind of role and responsibility, right? Travel. This came up with one of our members on a skill bridge program. He goes, hey, I want to travel with them to these locations. And the company was going to pay for travel for the individual to go out there. You're into not even a gray area. You're into a guardrail, right? Like,
right. So,
yeah.
So that's where skill bridge, because it is institutionalized and it's a duty station. Now it starts, they're probably just, CYA all over the place. But it sounds like from what Tom said, and again, get this checked out, as long as it's on your own free time, if you got to take leave to travel, if they're paying, hey, they could pay you a salary.
What did Tom say? He says, you're not precluded from, what do you say? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of
happiness. Right, right. Hey, now your command might claim otherwise, and, so you might have to, jump through hoops there. But
now there are some, I can remember back in several command roles that I have, if somebody in the organization that I was overseeing wanted to seek employment, we had it as a policy. They had to route a request form to say, hey, I am seeking off-duty employment, right? Like I want to go do these things. And that's just a way to disclose to the command. In most of those instances, we weren't ever going to get in the way of pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness, right? So yeah, but they're just disclosing, right, to the command that, hey, I want to go do these things. But I think Tom's right. Like he started his podcast while he was active duty. We know a lot of individuals that start to segue into the real estate thing comes up, right? I want to start dabbling in real estate. Hey, I'm going to start spending my weekends with somebody over here learning this type of role. Hey, I'm going to the airlines. Can I start my training while I'm still, on terminal leave and active duty? Yes, you can. You can do that, right? These kind of things. But if there's a question, I think we'd agree, right? Ask the expert, right?
Right.
Can disclose.
Well,
man,
awesome.
we haven't talked about this before in all of our previous podcasts. We haven't.
No,
really
somehow that hadn't come up yet, but good old Admiral Burke, I guess, made it. No, you're right. It was just a coincidence.
It was just coincidence. It came up,
but it's not like that kind of stuff hasn't happened before. And so I know. I mean, heck, people are afraid to have a LinkedIn profile because they're just concerned about disclosing something or whatever. And so we know that's in the back of people's minds. So definitely a hot topic that I'm glad we hit on, and we can always invite Tom back in when he's in his podcast studio and get into more detail.
I kind of like the Irish background, and to a pub for a pint. And
well, maybe I should have done one from Nashville last week. I could have gone and listened to the some honky tonk or something.
Well, Scott, give me a quick update on you. What is your end of year in 2026 looking like?
Oh, wow. Good question. I just got back from the one trip I did this year. I traveled a lot last year, but not as much this year because I had all those speaking engagements last year. But big one for me is I'm going back to Ohio for a few weeks at the end of next month to house sit. Well, my sister gets to travel for a few weeks to help take care of my mother.
All right.
And so I'll be just operating normal, but I'll be back home in Ohio. So if anybody's in the Columbus area, happy to meet up in person. That might be fun. But I don't. Since I don't have in-person cohorts the way you do, I don't have any travel plans or scheduling in that manner coming up. But what we do have coming up, Jen and I, well, here, I'll share my screen. I've got the software site ready to go, and people can visit that at one second. So this is all ready to go to use our military retirement income toolkit. Nice. And working on this took me a lot longer than I hoped, but I've never built a thing like this before. So I wanted to make sure it was working properly. And there's probably still some things that, aren't 100%. But, again, what this is meant to be is not just a calculator, but also a full education platform. So I've got content in here so you can learn more about different aspects of post-military retirement income. So obviously we got the section on the SBP decision, education analysis. Here you can punch in your age and pension, and it gives you an analysis of what your how to make the SBP decision, some education around that, and the specific variables to look at. What's the probability of getting a payout? How long your spouse would need to survive you. And then we compare that using our War Chest Builder tool. This is really designed to be done, on a demo design call with me. But at the same time, I think it's important for people to, get in the weeds and learn how, hey, if you're going to be doing advanced financial strategies. And that's, once you privatize, I mean, SBP is the, is the backup, is the easy button. Not good or bad, not trying to say that, but for those who do like to take more control, or don't like the SBP, or just want to add other wealth building tools to their portfolio, this is what this insurance strategy is about, but more nuance. It's like the first time you ever used your VA loan to buy a house. Like, all of a sudden you're learning real estate, right? You gotta know it before you're signing up for a mortgage. So our goal here is to educate in a simple way, but also let you play with the calculations.
Yeah.
And then I also build out a kind of standard retirement income planning tool, so you can project out how long your retirement savings would last when you compare, add in your military pension, your VA disability. What are the future taxes going to be? How's inflation going to affect it? And how's your current portfolio if you add in, what's your TSP allocation, IRAs, if they're growing at a X percentage, how long would they last in retirement to maintain your lifestyle? And then
it's an amazing tool you've put together here. I know you've been working on this for a long time, and this is truly amazing.
Yeah. So the one reason I hadn't launched it yet is because I realized I needed to make a bunch of videos to explain how to do that. So that's available as well. Haven't posted it on my website yet, but I hopefully will do today. I don't have it handy here, but anyway, so that's at militaryretirementcalculators.com. I'll post it here in the comments.
Nice.
And so that's the main thing we're launching. And then tied in with that is Jen and I are going to start doing the networking group that we've been talking about, just a way to have maybe it's a monthly Zoom call where people can come in, kind of practice, an easy way to meet other people. It's like we're always trying to meet other people and retire, through the military retirement, or even veteran business owners are just always looking for ways to meet new people. And getting on a Zoom call is an easy way to do it. You can practice elevator pitches, hear what other people have done, and then have opportunity for follow-up and stuff. So that'll be coming through our our military, and that's kind of going to be an extension of the podcast. So obviously open to Blue Water members and US Vet Wealth clients, but anybody else who's exploring these worlds,
into the space.
A simple way to do it. So that's my next big project. Don't know when that'll launch yet, but I also want to use that as an opportunity to talk about the digital uniform. Use the personal branding, how to use LinkedIn. Get into some tactics and strategies and stuff there as well. But
I love it. You got a lot going on, and you've done a lot and are doing a lot, right? I'm really excited to hear the feedback on this tool, right? It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Really.
No. Thanks, Mike.
In fact, I'm inclined, once you kind of get it posted and everything, I'd like to just log on and just take a look at it as well too. Give you some feedback. I'd love to play around with it. So
yes, sir.
So on the Blue Water side, what we're already heavily engaged in 2026, right? Our schedule, right? As you know, we're completely full up through the end of the year, so we're stacking up people who are looking for opportunity. That has forced us in 2025 to offer a couple of different onboarding methodologies, right? We did a virtual cohort this year in August, right? We're still kind of looking at that again to see if we might, do another one of those. Steve Weeman and I had a lot of lessons learned on that. And I think for the right group who are just unable to make an in-person cohort, yet still want to kind of be tied to a small group kind of environment there and a discussion-led effort, online is the way to go. So we're going to look at that again. And then on our Blue Water digital platform, now members can go there and request access. And they can fill out information on their demographics and where they're at and why they're looking to get access and everything. And if you're a good fit for Blue Water, right, we'll grant that access and get you on the platform. And that's kind of the same opportunity, now that we've recorded all of our messages, our content is available, all of our video tutorials, all of that information is available. Scott, the request access button, you can see it right down there at the bottom. Yep. And that takes members through a screen where they can fill out their information and submit it to us. And then that's kind of a self-led journey, right? You can go on, you can review the content, but we build in Zoom calls throughout your self-led, right, effort. In other words, watch this tutorial, watch read this content, watch these video recorded messages. Now schedule a call with somebody in the Blue Water leadership. Let's talk about, how far you've come, any questions you have on the content or the video information, and next steps, how to use the platform in pursuit of your next success, right? And so, again, we've opened that up just because we have so many people out there, Scott, that going, Mike, everything's full. I can't get into a cohort. I can't do this, but I still want to be part of the team. How do I do this? Well, this is, it's maybe not the right fit for everybody, but it's another option. So we're doing our best to build some flexibility for aspiring members who want to be a part of the Blue Water team, right? So excited about that. But for 2026, this is what it looks like. January, are you ready for it? San Diego, the command, the Naval Leadership and Ethics Command there in San Diego. It looks like they're interested in a cohort. We're still having conversations with Navy Region Southeast in Jacksonville for February. Just talking to the Two Circle team for a Pax River cohort in March. Looks like back down to NOC TSD, Orlando, Florida, right, for us in potentially April. Are you ready for this one? Shield AI has stepped up. They want to host a cohort for us. Those were the spaces that you were with us.
Yeah.
We went and did that. So that's May 27th, back here in Norfolk with Booz Allen in July. August is TBD. Just got an email back from the Academy. I just shared with you, right? September 16th and 17th back in Annapolis, right? They want us back up there, and we're excited about that. And then October, November, and December, we're still working, those touch points out there. So it's coming together, right? The 2026 schedule is firming up. And so we'll get that published for members to take a look at and start registering, soon. So we're looking to get that out.
No, it's cool you're getting invited. Heck, you only got one in Norfolk, it sounds like.
It's crazy. We're traveling around a little bit between DC and other locations, Florida, San Diego, right? Annapolis, Pax River, right? We're kind of all over next year. So exciting to do that. Exciting.
Cool. All right, Mike. Well, no,
yes,
great for the update.
Yeah,
and thanks again for having me up to Annapolis. I've had a couple of conversations already with some folks, so appreciate the opportunity to get there and be helpful as we can be as these questions come up as well. But it's move on to the rest of the week. People are already putting up Halloween. Decorations. I'm like, I can't believe it's this part of the year already. But
it's fall, right? It's crazy.
Wow.
Q4 is here, and summer's almost behind us, and the fall season quickly approaches, right? So it's exciting.
Yes, sir.
All right,
man.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And reach out if you got any other topic ideas or questions.
Or if you want to be a guest, right? Let us know.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Happy to have people on as guests. Sure. If you got insights to share, if you just want to share your own military retirement career progression journey.
Come
on. We always have lessons to learn. Like to hear the stories. I know other people appreciate hearing the journey others went through. So we definitely want to highlight your experience as well. But all right, well, we'll see everybody next week, most likely.
All right. Cheers.
Cool. Take care.